Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're basically putting on our detective hats. We're going to go on a little digital forensics adventure. Yeah, we're going to uncover all those hidden clues, those little footprints that every single SSH connection leaves behind. By the end of this, you'll be thinking just like a digital detective. So, let's start with a question, just to get us thinking like an investigator. Picture this. You type SSH user at server. You hit enter, and boom, you're in. But have you ever stopped to think about what really just happened behind the scenes? What kind of invisible clues, what digital breadcrumbs did you just leave on your own computer? Well, we call these clues SSH artifacts. And really, that's just a fancy term for the digital fingerprints, the logs, the files, all the stuff that gets created on both your computer and the server during a connection. They're a record of activity, and for an investigator, these things are an absolute goldmine. They tell the whole story, who connected to what and when. Okay, so here's our investigation plan. We're going to cover SSH's invisible footprints, look at clues on the client side, then check out the evidence on the server. After that, we'll dig into the connection logbook, solve a little case file about a compromised host, and finally, we'll decode some of those advanced ciphers. All right, let's dive right in. We're going to start with the clues you can find right on your own machine. Okay, the first piece of evidence is this little file called known hosts. The best way to think about it is like a trusted guest book for servers. When you connect to a server for the very first time, your computer jots down its unique public key, its signature basically. Then every time you connect after that, it checks that guest book to make sure you're still talking to the same server and not some imposter trying to trick you. So here are the nitty-gritty details. You can see exactly where to find this file, right in your user's .ssh directory. What's really interesting, though, is that the format is often hashed. That's a fancy way of saying it's scrambled for security. This is super important because it means someone can't just pop open your known hosts file and see a crystal clear list of every server IP you've ever connected to. It keeps your tracks covered, and we'll see just how important that is in our case file later. All right, next up are your personal keys. These are your unique set of digital keys. The private key, that's the one that stays secret right on your machine. You can think of it like the lock. The public key is the one you share with servers to get access. That's the key. And they're a perfectly matched pair. Only your key fits your lock. And this shows you exactly how they're named and stored. They're usually right there in that same .ssh folder. You'll see one file named something like ID_ED25519. That's your private one. And then you'll see another one with the exact same name, but with .pub at the end for public. Now, this is the most important part. The .pub file is the only one you should ever give to anyone or put on a server. The other one never leaves your machine, period. Okay, so now that we've seen the client side, let's jump over to the server and see how this whole thing looks from the other side of the connection. On the server, we find this file called authorized_keys. You can think of this as the bouncer's VIP access list. When you try to log in, the server looks at your public key and checks this list. If your key's on the list for that user account, the bouncer lets you right in. No password needed. If it's not on the list, sorry, you're not getting in. And check this out. This file is more than just an access list. It has a really powerful security feature. See that command equals part? You can actually set it up so that a specific key can only run one single command when it logs in. So instead of getting a full interactive shell, maybe it just runs a backup script, and that's it. It's an awesome way to lock things down for automated processes. So just like you have your personal keys, the server has its own official ID, its host keys. And if you're thinking, wait, that sounds familiar, you're right. These are the public keys that your computer saves in that known hosts file we talked about earlier. It's how the server proves its identity to you. Here's where we get into the rulebooks. There are two main configuration files, and it's super easy to get them mixed up. On your machine, the client, you have SSH config. That controls your outgoing connections. On the server, you have SSHD config. See that little D on the end? That D stands for daemon, the service that's always running. And that file controls all the incoming connections to the server. Two sides of the same coin. Okay, we've looked at all the static evidence, the keys, the config files. But what about a trail of activity? Every good detective needs a logbook, right? Let's go find out where SSH writes down everything that happens. This is basically your cheat sheet for finding those logs. On newer systems using systemd, journalctl is going to be your best friend. On older systems, you'll probably be digging through /var log/off.log with a tool like grep. And there are other places to look too. The last log command shows you the last time someone logged in. And hey, don't forget the most obvious one. Just check your own command history. You might find exactly what you're looking for right there. Okay, enough theory. Let's put our new detective skills to the test. It's time to solve a case. We've got a compromised host, and we've only got one single piece of evidence to go on. So here's the scenario. An investigator suspects that this machine made a connection to a malicious server at this IP address, 92.204.239.14. But, a suspicion isn't proof. We need to find cold, hard evidence. Can we prove it? And this is literally all we have to work with. It's one of those hashed entries from the known hosts file. Remember how we said the IP is hidden in there? Well, here it is. The IP is scrambled inside this big string of characters. So, here's the thing. You can't unscramble it. But what you can do, using a tool like SSH keygen, is ask it, hey, does the IP 92.204.239.14 match this hash? It's a yes or no question. And that's how we can prove our case. This is real deal digital forensics. So, before we wrap this up, let's take a quick peek inside the toolbox that makes all of this security possible. I'm talking about the advanced ciphers, the secret codes that SSH uses. Think of these as different tools for different jobs. You've got S-Nyuntrup 761. That's for the secret handshake to agree on a key. And what's wild about this one is that it's designed to be safe from future quantum computers. It's future-proofing our security. Then there's SSH 825519. That's basically the high-tech digital signature used to prove who you are. And finally, you have something like Cha-Cha 20 Poly 1305, which is the fast, efficient tool that actually encrypts your conversation and makes sure nobody's messing with it. And that brings us to the end. Now that you know where all these clues are hidden, what story do your own SSH artifacts tell? Those same digital footprints, the known host file, your keys, your logs, they're all sitting on your computer right now, telling the story of where you've been. It's something to think about, isn't it?